Lebedev and Hodorkovsky, although they were in a glass booth and guarded by soldiers, had a freedom of disposition. In other words, their behavior was unencumbered, because you get the sense that they had a purpose and they knew what their purpose was and that they were right. And yet the judge is the one that seemed imprisoned by it all. The first day was quite interesting because a former employee of UCOS was on the witness stand, and right from the beginning I noticed his physical disposition, and I knew which side he was on before the interpreter said a word. I knew he was a prosecution witness, and I knew he was going to be belligerent to the defense. You can tell from his body. And as it turns out, he gave testimony for the prosecution, which went on for quite a while, and what I interpreted from the behavior was clearly there was some absurd comments made, because there was laughter from some in the courtroom, the lawyers, and Lebedev and Hodorkovsky would laugh and look at each other like, can you believe this guy said that? Lebedev, who had all these dates and facts and figures in his mind, knew exactly how to question the witness, knew exactly what the discrepancies were based on my interpretation. And there was no attempt on the witness's part to make any sense out of what he was saying. And at one point, as Lebedev was pressing, he said something, and the judge nodded his head and said, okay, basically, and in a shortened version of what he said. And I asked my interpreter, what just happened? And she said, the witness didn't ask, but wanted to exercise his right not to testify against his own testimony. So I said, I'm sorry, what? And she repeated, exercise his right not to testify against his own testimony. You mean the testimony that he just gave? That and everything from the previous trial that he claims not to have any memory of, even though it was his job to keep a record of the very things he was being asked about. So it was a circus. It's a human rights issue now. And this man, I think, has transformed himself and has the moral authority, I think, based on what he's been through and what he knows, to speak about how we move forward from here, socially and economically, certainly in his country, and with ramifications around the world. And no matter what he's done, and no matter how greedy or powerful you might interpret his behavior to have been, he has been falsely accused, and his rights as we know it, his due process has been violated. International courts have said as much. Amnesty International has said as much. And on that basis alone, we should fight for this man's release.